Well, there were some steps that we took forward in the quarterback department, and that was terrific. Going back to the second half of the Baltimore game, and then in Las Vegas, then versus the Niners, and then, of course, versus Tennessee, we're getting some good experience, and that's really the best teacher experiences. And he's doing a nice job of applying the lessons learned, both when we have our triumphs and our good plays, but also when we stub our toe.
One of the things he was doing, especially in the Rams preseason, drifting back. I mean, it seemed like he had a habit of drifting back when
I want to thank the Cleveland Browns and the GM Andrew Berry for drafting me and giving me an opportunity to fulfill my dreams of playing in the NFL. But I'm going to have to decline this draft pick because they drafted Dylan Gabriel before me, and I will not be embarrassed like that. I'm not some third or fourth string quarterback you can just bring in to be made fun of. Not to mention Cleveland is a boring ass city, as everyone knows. Even their own LeBron Diddy James left that city to go to Los Angeles.
Browns quarterback coach Bobby Musgrave just went off in a press conference, and while he never directly called out Kevin Stefanski by name, his words about Shedeur Sanders' development tell a story that exposes exactly what's been happening behind closed doors, and it's not pretty for the head coach who buried this kid at fourth string for months. Musgrave is comparing Shedeur's rookie adjustment to John Elway and talking about how all of us rookies have mountains to climb because of the different offensive systems they came from, essentially defending Shedeur's early struggles while subtly throwing shade at the coaching staff's approach to developing him. But here's where it gets explosive. Musgrave reveals that Shedeur works really hard at his footwork and his rhythm, and that any gains these guys are making, it's because they are determined to get it right. Notice he said they, not we, suggesting the players are doing this despite the coaching, not because of it. And when asked about what he's learned from offensive coordinator Tommy Rees, Musgrave gushes about how Rees was a step ahead of the defense and cares about football, conspicuously leaving out any praise for Kevin Stefanski, the head coach who refused to give Shedeur a fair shot. This isn't just a press conference. This is a quarterback coach going to bat for his player and exposing the dysfunction that almost derailed a franchise quarterback's career before it even started.
he was doing, especially in the Rams preseason, drifting back. I mean, it seemed like he had a habit of drifting back when he was in the pocket. It seems like he's done a lot better job as he's gotten more comfortable in staying within the pocket, playing within the pocket more and more. Is that just a byproduct of being out there and seeing, getting game reps, something you can't really have, you can't break it with, just in practice?
How realistic is it to say they give actual consideration to starting Shedeur?
I think it is unrealistic. If you look at the Browns' schedule, it's home against Joe Burrow, on the road against Lamar Jackson, home against Jordan Love, on the road against Jared Goff, then home game in London against the Vikings, then no bye, and you come home on the road against Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. That's a gauntlet. There's no way you're playing a rookie quarterback right out of the gate. It's just not going to happen.
Dylan Gabriel also, he returned to practice yesterday. Comparing can be difficult because everybody's out there. Some are against the 2, some against the 3.
Sure.
But Dylan Gabriel versus Shedeur Sanders, what did you see?
It's a hard comparison to make because of what you just laid out. Dylan Gabriel is getting far more opportunities, at least through the first couple of weeks, than Shedeur Sanders. And Dylan Gabriel, much like Shedeur, has had good days and bad. He's had more opportunities with 1s and 2s to have good days. I was not at practice yesterday. I will be there for the joint practice tomorrow in Philly. From everything I heard, Dylan Gabriel had a really good day yesterday, but Shedeur did.
Look, y'all need to understand what just happened in this Bobby Musgrave press conference, because on the surface, it looks like a normal QB coach talking about his rookie quarterback's development. But if you read between the lines, and trust me, we're gonna do that today, this is Bobby Musgrave absolutely demolishing the narrative that Kevin Stefanski and the Browns organization have been pushing about Shedeur Sanders for months. Let me set the scene for you. Bobby Musgrave has been coaching quarterbacks in the NFL for over 3 decades. This man has seen everything. He coached at Cal, he coached with the Raiders, he coached with the Broncos. He's worked with elite quarterbacks, struggling quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks, veteran quarterbacks. So when he talks, people in the know listen. And in this press conference, Musgrave is asked about Shedeur's growth and development since the Tennessee Titans game. And his answer? Absolutely loaded with subtext that defends Shedeur while exposing the coaching staff's failures. Musgrave says, well, there were some steps that we took forward in the quarterback department, and that was terrific. Going back to the second half of the Baltimore game, and then in Las Vegas, then versus the Niners, and then, of course, versus Tennessee, we're getting some good experience, and that's really the best teacher is experience. And he's doing a nice job of applying the lessons learned both when we have our triumphs and our good plays, but also when we stub our toe. Now, notice what he's doing here. He's framing Shedeur's development around experience. Experience is the best teacher. That's not some throwaway line. That's Musgrave subtly calling out the fact that Shedeur was denied experience for the first 10+ weeks of the season. Because you know what the best teacher is? Experience. And you know who prevented Shedeur from getting experience? Kevin Stefanski.
I think it's definitely with the experience and the reps and finding out how fast these guys are at this level. John Elway used to say the same thing when he came out of college. He felt like he could run away from people because he did in high school and college. But these defenders at this level, they hawk you down or they trap you. They're smart. They don't let you out like you used to be able to get out of the pocket at different levels of football. So I think it's a trial and error thing. I think most quarterbacks, if not all quarterbacks, go through that, finding out how quickly.
Musgrave is basically saying, look, this kid is learning and growing because he's finally getting to play. Imagine where he'd be if you'd given him this opportunity from week 1. But it gets even better. A reporter asks Musgrave about Shedeur's tendency to drift back in the pocket during the preseason, something that was used as justification for burying him on the depth chart, and whether he's improved. And Musgrave's response is perfect. He says, I think it's definitely with the experience and the reps and finding out how fast these guys are at this level. John Elway used to say the same thing when he came out of college. He felt like he could run away from people because he did in high school and college, but these defenders at this level, they hawk you down or they trap you. They're smart. They don't let you out like you used to be able to get out of the pocket at different levels of football. So I think it's a trial and error thing. I think most quarterbacks, if not all quarterbacks, go through that. John Elway. Bobby Musgrave just compared Shedeur Sanders' rookie adjustment to John Elway, one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. And he's explaining that what Shedeur was doing, the drifting, the trying to escape pressure, is something that every elite mobile quarterback goes through when they get to the NFL. But here's the key part. I think most quarterbacks, if not all quarterbacks, go through that. Translation, this is normal. This is what rookie quarterbacks do, and instead of giving Shedeur reps to work through it like we do with every other quarterback, Kevin Stefanski buried him and acted like it was some fatal flaw. Musgrave is defending Shedeur while simultaneously exposing how ridiculous it was to use those preseason habits as justification for keeping him off the field.
Well, like all of us, I think back to my rookie year 34 years ago, came out of a system at Oregon where we never even called the pass protection. The offense that Shedeur ran, the two offenses he ran in Colorado, plus the offense at Jackson State, plus the offense, in high school at Trinity. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get faced with. My rookie coach was Norval Turner there in Dallas, and he used to get after me because I wouldn't call the play correctly in the huddle. So all of us rookies have.
But then a reporter asks Musgrave to quantify Shedeur's development from day 1 to now, and this is where Musgrave goes deep into defending Shedeur by explaining just how massive the learning curve is for any rookie quarterback, especially one who came from multiple offensive systems like Shedeur did. Musgrave says, well, like all of us, I think back to my rookie year 34 years ago, came out of a system at Oregon where we never even called the pass protection. The offense that Shedeur ran, the two offenses he ran in Colorado, plus the offense at Jackson State, plus the offense in high school at Trinity. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get faced with. My rookie coach was Norv Turner there in Dallas, and he used to get after me because I wouldn't call the play correctly in the huddle. So all of us rookies have mountains to climb in terms of how well we were prepared for this level. All of us rookies have mountains to climb. Do you understand what Bobby Musgrave is doing here? He's explaining that Shedeur came from 4 different offensive systems, Jackson State, Colorado, and he ran 2 different offenses there, high school at Trinity, 4 completely different playbooks, 4 different terminologies, 4 different philosophies. And then he gets to Cleveland and has to learn a fifth completely new system under Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees. And Musgrave is saying, this is hard for everyone. This is normal. This is what all rookie quarterbacks go through. But Kevin Stefanski didn't treat it like it was normal. He treated Shedeur's learning curve like it was evidence he wasn't NFL ready. He buried him at fourth string. He refused to give him first-team reps. He made him feel like he was falling behind, when in reality, he was going through the exact same process that every single rookie quarterback goes through. Musgrave continues, whether we're in the huddle, we're in the shotgun, we're under center, we're no huddling, we're sending motions, every language is different, so he's had a lot to adapt to, like Dylan has also, like little Bobby Musgrave did 34 years ago.
Called the play correctly in the huddle. So all of us rookies have mountains to climb in terms of how well were we prepared for this level. Whether we're in the huddle, we're in the shotgun, we're under center, we're no huddling, we're sending motions. Every language is different. So he's had a lot to adapt to, like Dylan has also, like little Bobby Musgrave did 34 years ago.
Notice he threw in like Dylan has also. That's Musgrave subtly pointing out that Dylan Gabriel went through the same learning curve, had the same adjustments to make, came from a different system at Oklahoma, but somehow Dylan was given every opportunity, every first-team rep, every chance to succeed, while Shedeur was buried. That's not Bobby Musgrave going off in some loud, aggressive way. That's him methodically, carefully, strategically dismantling the narrative that Shedeur wasn't ready or wasn't putting in the work. Then a reporter asks about Shedeur's footwork, which was another thing critics used to justify keeping him on the bench, and Musgrave's answer is telling. He says, well, he works hard at it. I mean, any gains, of course, that these guys are making, it's because they are determined to get it right. They're determined to figure this whole pro game out. Talking about the rookie quarterbacks, Shedeur has worked really hard on his footwork and his rhythm and his feet really telling him how to get through progressions. Any gains these guys are making, it's because they are determined to get it right. They. Not we as a coaching staff have developed them. Not our system has helped them improve. They, the players, are determined. The players are working hard. The players are making it happen. That's Bobby Musgrave telling you that Shedeur's improvements are happening because of Shedeur's work ethic, not because of some brilliant coaching strategy from Kevin Stefanski.
Well, he works hard at it. Any gains, of course, that these guys are making, it's because they are determined to get it right. They're determined to figure this whole pro game out, talking about the rookie quarterbacks. And Shedeur has worked really hard on his footwork and his rhythm and his feet, really telling him how to get through progressions. You know, the first route might be thrown on the plant before we even take a hitch step or a gather step in the pocket. And then moving to number 2 to number 3, a little bit like the 60-yard touchdown to Jerry the other day. His feet told him that initially.
And then Musgrave gives a perfect example of Shedeur's growth. You know, the first route might be thrown on the plant before we even take a hitch step or a gather step in the pocket. And then moving to number 2 to number 3, a little bit like the 60-yard touchdown to Jerry the other day. His feet told him that initially the front side of the pattern wasn't working. It wasn't looking very appetizing. Sure enough, when he got to his second or third hitch step or gather step, he inherently got back to that backside in-cut, and that was outstanding. That 60-yard touchdown to Jerry Jeudy, that wasn't some scripted play where everything went according to plan. That was Shedeur reading the defense, trusting his footwork, going through his progressions, and making an elite throw to the backside of the formation. That's franchise quarterback stuff. And Musgrave is highlighting it because he wants people to understand this is what Shedeur is capable of when you actually give him the chance to play. A reporter asks Musgrave if Shedeur's elusiveness and ability to extend plays is about what he expected or if it's exceeded expectations. And Musgrave says,
and then Ryan
I think it's
Clark
about what we thought or
truth.
anticipated.
And then
most
you
fellas
think
in this day and age are going to have to extend the play and escape just because the defenses are so good.
Second round tape,
about
which
what
many
we
of us
thought
said that
or
day.
anticipated.
And people behaved
meaning
as
the
if we
coaching
were
staff
ignoring
knew
Cam
Shedeur
Ward.
had this ability.
No, we were
they
just
knew
talking
he
about
could
what was
extend
directly
plays.
and
They
blatantly
knew he
shining
had
in front of
elite
us.
mobility and pocket
Ryan Clark
presence.
is saying
they saw
on
it
the
in
record
practice.
that
They
Shedeur
saw it in the
Sanders had
preseason.
first to
And they
second
still
round tape.
buried
That
him
the
at
fifth round
fourth
draft
string.
position was a mistake.
Musgrave continues.
The people who said
I don't
this
think we're
weren't
seeing any
crazy
more
or
Troy
biased.
Aikmans
They
or
were just
Dan
being
Marinos
honest
that
about
are
what
just
they saw.
statues in the
But
pocket,
here's where
and they
Clark's
just
analysis
deal from the
becomes even
pocket
more
and crush a
powerful.
defense.
But when he
the
was
defenses
drafted in the
now are
fifth
so
round, I
advanced
said,
and so
I take
good
what I think
that we're
of
not
him out
seeing
of the
any
picture
6'5",
and realize he's
6'6",
going to be
just
treated like
statues
a
back
fifth
there.
rounder that's a
it's about
fourth
what
string
we
quarterback
thought
at the
or
beginning of
anticipated.
camp, a third string quarterback at the
fellas in
beginning of
this
the
day and
year.
age
But he
are gonna
wasn't
have to
covered like
extend
that.
the play
He was
and
covered in a
escape,
way that
just
always
because
put
the
him in the
defenses are
spotlight.
so good.
See what Clark is exposing?
we're-
The hypocrisy of
we're not
how the
seeing any
media
more
treated
Troy
Shedeur.
Aikmans or
They wanted him to be treated
Dan
like a
Marinos
fifth
that are
rounder
just
when it came
statues
to
in the pocket, and
opportunities.
they just
Fourth
deal
string,
from the
no
pocket and
first
crush
team
a
reps,
defense. The defenses
buried on the
now are
depth
so-
chart, but they covered him like he was a first-round pick when it came to criticism. Every mistake analyzed, every outfit scrutinized, every social media post dissected. They wanted to deny him the benefits of being a high draft pick while subjecting him to all the pressure and criticism of one. That's not fair. That's not journalism. That's a hit job. And Ryan Clark even admitted, and there were times I can even say on my side, I was like, man, I wish he would find a way to not give people things to talk about. But he was raised with that level of confidence. He was raised with that level of certainty. He was raised with that level of bravado. And he needed it because they tried to beat him out of it. But it takes hard work. It just doesn't happen. And it takes hard work, like we all know, to reestablish habits and make them part of your fabric so you don't have to think about it. The last thing we want somebody doing is out there thinking on the field about my footwork or the way I throw that. It's not golf. There's no time for swing thoughts up on the tee box. Like, we've got to do what comes naturally to us, and that's establishing those habits. It takes hard work. It just doesn't happen. Musgrave is emphasizing that Shedeur's development requires reps, requires time, requires patience. You can't just bury a guy on the practice squad, give him no first-team reps, and expect him to magically develop perfect NFL footwork. You have to put in the work. You have to give him opportunities. You have to let him play. And Kevin Stefanski didn't do that. He expected Shedeur to be perfect from day one, and when he wasn't, Stefanski used it as justification to keep him buried. Bobby Musgrave is calling that out, not directly, not in a way that gets him fined or creates headlines, but in a way that anyone paying attention can clearly see.
I've learned, a lot. I've learned. Mike Mularkey, a guy that I worked with down in Atlanta, he used to talk about being a lifelong learner. And us as coaches, we should learn something, and we do, every time we walk off a practice field or a game field. Every day at this job, we'd come in and Mike Mularkey had a file, and he'd type it in or write it in about things that he learned each and every day that we didn't know the minute we went out to practice. And I learned from Tommy each and every day.
But here's where it gets really interesting. A reporter asks Musgrave what he's learned from working with offensive coordinator Tommy Rees, and Musgrave absolutely gushes about Rees in a way that's super telling when you compare it to what he doesn't say about Kevin Stefanski. Musgrave says, "I've learned a lot. I've learned Mike Mularkey, a guy that I worked with down in Atlanta, he used to talk about being a lifelong learner, and us as coaches, we should learn something, and we do every time we walk off a practice field or a game field. And I learn from Tommy each and every day. He works really hard at his craft. The other day, he was a step ahead of the defense there in Tennessee with the plays he called. He was a step ahead on that long pass down there in Las Vegas when we flushed out of the pocket versus cover zero. He's just been a step ahead of these opposing coordinators. I like being around him. I like guys who are tightly wound, and Tommy is, and because he cares, guys who actually care about football and care about their profession." Listen to that praise. He works really hard at his craft. He was a step ahead of the defense. He cares about football and cares about their profession. That's Bobby Musgrave telling you that Tommy Rees is the one designing plays that put Shedeur in position to succeed. Tommy Rees is the one scheming guys open. Tommy Rees is the one who actually cares about developing the quarterbacks. Notice what's conspicuously absent from that answer?
any mention of Kevin Stefanski, zero praise for the head coach, zero credit given to Stefanski's offensive philosophy, zero acknowledgement of Stefanski's role in Shedeur's development. That's not an accident. Bobby Musgrave has been in the NFL for over 30 years. He knows how to politic. He knows how to give credit where credit is due. And he's choosing to heap praise on Tommy Rees while saying nothing about Kevin Stefanski. That tells you everything you need to know about who's actually helping Shedeur succeed and who was trying to hold him back.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm in a good spot to answer that today. That's probably going to be for the offseason where we can take a deep breath and reflect a little bit. Right now, we're pretty much in our, as you can imagine, our weekly battle mode of getting ready for a Friday practice in red area and making sure we're sharp on the goal line and 2-point plays and all that so we can go put our best foot forward versus Chicago. Then after that 7-game stretch, as you described, there'll be time in the offseason to reflect and really.
Then, near the end of the press conference, a reporter asks Musgrave what he thinks they can learn about Shedeur in a 7-game sample size to finish the season. And Musgrave's answer is very carefully worded. He says, "Yeah, I don't know that I'm in a good spot to answer that today. That's probably going to be for the offseason, where we can take a deep breath and reflect a little bit. Right now, we're pretty much in our weekly battle mode of getting ready for a Friday practice and red area and making sure we're sharp on the goal line and 2-point plays and all that, so we can go put our best foot forward versus Chicago. Then after that 7-game stretch, as you described, there'll be time in the offseason to reflect and really break it down and get to the crux of the matters. Get to the crux of the matters." That's Musgrave saying there's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot that happened this season that needs to be discussed. And when we get to the offseason, we're going to have some real conversations about how this was handled. This wasn't QB coach defending his head coach's decision-making. That's a QB coach planting seeds for what's about to be a very contentious offseason evaluation of how the Browns handled their rookie quarterbacks. Finally, a reporter asks about Shedeur's ability to pick things up quickly and correct his mistakes, and Musgrave says, "Well, it's a difficult task. He's really working hard at it with his study habits and making sure that you can visualize where all the players are in the various patterns. So he's working really hard at it." Again, notice the emphasis. He's working really hard at it. Not, we've done a great job developing him. Not, our system makes it easy for him to learn. He is doing the work. He is putting in the study time. He is making it happen. Musgrave talks about different study aids, flashcards, laptops, film study, active meetings, walkthrough meetings. He talks about how when he coached at Cal, Oakland, and Denver, they did a lot of active meetings where we're out on the turf, and it's a meeting, but we're moving and we're walking through it, and it helps with visualization. That's Musgrave explaining how he coaches quarterbacks, how he develops them, how he helps them learn. Not how Kevin Stefanski does it, how Bobby Musgrave does it. So let's put this all together, because this press conference is absolutely loaded with Bobby Musgrave defending Shedeur Sanders while subtly exposing the dysfunction in how Kevin Stefanski handled this situation. Musgrave compared Shedeur's adjustment to John Elway and explained that drifting in the pocket is something most quarterbacks, if not all quarterbacks, go through. Translation, stop acting like Shedeur's preseason habits were some disqualifying flaw. Musgrave emphasized that all of us rookies have mountains to climb because of the different offensive systems we come from. Translation, Shedeur's learning curve was normal and expected, and burying him instead of developing him was the wrong approach. Musgrave said any gains these guys are making, it's because they are determined to get it right. Translation, Shedeur's development is happening because of his work ethic, not because of brilliant coaching from Stefanski. Musgrave praised Tommy Rees extensively while saying nothing about Kevin Stefanski. Translation, Rees is the one actually helping Shedeur succeed. Musgrave said there will be time in the offseason to get to the crux of the matters. Translation, we're going to have some serious conversations about how this was handled. This wasn't Bobby Musgrave going off in some loud, dramatic way. This was a 30-year NFL coaching veteran carefully, methodically, strategically dismantling the narrative that Shedeur Sanders wasn't ready or wasn't working hard enough. This was Musgrave going to bat for his player, defending him, protecting him, and in the process exposing exactly what went wrong with Kevin Stefanski's approach to developing rookie quarterbacks. because at the end of the day, Bobby Musgrave knows what we all know now. Shedeur Sanders is a franchise quarterback who was nearly destroyed by a head coach who refused to give him a fair chance. And now that Shedeur is finally playing, he's proving every single doubter wrong. So, here's my question for you. Does Bobby Musgrave's careful praise of Shedeur and Tommy Rees, while saying nothing about Kevin Stefanski, prove there's dysfunction between the QB coach and head coach? Is Musgrave subtly calling out Stefanski for burying Shedeur instead of developing him? And when he says they'll get to the crux of the matters in the offseason, is that code for we're going to have it out about how this was handled? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this press conference revealed way more than people realize. If you believe Bobby Musgrave is defending Shedeur while exposing Stefanski's failures, smash that like button and subscribe because we're going to keep breaking down every angle of this story. Shedeur Sanders is proving he's the real deal, and his quarterback coach just went on record explaining why, while making it very clear who helped him succeed and who tried to hold him back.